Well, good night, everybody. I cannot start it for not, most of all, thank you the invitation for being here today and the casuality of Professor Soriano have been a jury in this prize that I have been awarded, and it's been very honorable to me. Hence, I have this presentation that goes around mainly the building that he have been saw in that awards, in the ECOLA awards. But in this case, and I will have prepared this more for students, I don't think that the most important is the building itself, but what goes around it. That's why how I have structured the presentation, mainly with this question in mind, because some months before the ECOLA Awards, we also have been honored to be finished one of the shortlisted Ms. Van der Rohe Award with this same building. And for, well, the first time in the formal context, I have been put to this maybe eternal question to people that do something related to art or creation. That is this Portuguese journalist that asked me, where do you get your inspiration? It's not easy to translate to English like, donde vas buscar tu inspiración? It's not the same as getting, it's almost where are you going to buy your inspiration? Where you go when you want to go inspired? And that's, in the sense, and I believe that being in the university, within the school, I believe that students, mainly in the first years of the college, and maybe every year, they are interested in also try to understand this question. So presentation goes around this, and I hope at the end, if I'm not forget it, try to tell you what I think about where I go for my inspiration. Structure-wise, I will try to not be that boring. I will start with a small video, the body of the presentation, and we'll end it again with the same video, but in a larger version to be boring. And I choose it that way because this project, this building, by its nature, by its programmatic needs, is a kind of a complex in the landscape. So the video, I will hope it try to help everybody to understand a little bit more of the project. Sadly, because it's a Portuguese contemporary classical music, we cannot connect the sound very well, so I will try to put it as high as I can from my small laptop. this is to stop. Well, and try to just to put it here. On top of all the traditional difficulties that we have when we're doing architecture, this was another one. This I like to say because it's in the sense a new program that is not the usual before that. We have called it with the client the High Performance Rowing Center. For once, by the natural characteristics of the Douro River in this part of the Douro Valley. It was, before this building, there was some old buildings there that already supported our, not only our, but our rowing national teams, and also teams from all over Europe, mainly from Northern Europe and above, like one of the main clients, even today, it's Russia, for instance, because you know, I believe also here in Germany, in Berlin, in the winter, rivers tends to freeze. And it's not good to row in the freezing river. So people fly and spend the winter in Portugal because this part of the Douro, which produces some of the best Portuguese wines, is famous. Like the average rainy days in this place is like 15 days a year. I have not said 50, I said 15 a year. So it's 20 tops, to not confuse. So it started like a high-performance rowing center. The politics changes that happen after the construction of the building, in some ways keep it the rowing, but have expanded to other sports. But the principle is the same. It was a program from the Portuguese government to deliver some infrastructure for Olympic level athletes, in this case rowing, and now it's also with the other sports, and even not high performance. We have the Portuguese referees, football referees, working and training here, so it goes a long way. But it changes in the beginning. One of the added difficulties is to ask ourselves, what is an high performance building, an high-performance rowing center? So this is another one of the other things that goes in the account of the inspiration. But now we're gonna change to the main body of the presentation. It goes. So I will be a little bit more boring, and I will read a small text. Situated in a territory of wide horizons, designed by large agricultural fields and scattered belted clusters, the project, by the size and complexity of the program, gets close to the meaning that these clusters acquired in the landscape. The fragmentation of the bodies that compose it tries to reach a kind of permeability capable of accomplish a balance between the building and the landscape. In the way how they both touch each other, in the way how they both let themselves be, and in the same time let themselves be read. This balance, which does not deceive the real dimension of the building, must also find a foundation in the identity of each segment of the program, whose formal expression is inseparable from the reason that gives meaning to the wall. That global wall results also from the ability to typify elements and thus build the rule that allows to establish the repetition and the exception at the same time. Repeating means better identifying the unit, revealing its ability to vary within the same rule to integrate future expansions. At the same time, its design principles also results from the need to model the terrain. Thus, the design of the unit is the design of the ground itself and is based on the will to articulate the scale of the place to the scale of the territory. A lot of the things that we have talked this afternoon in the presentations in some ways. The exception confirms the identity of each unit, setting the scale of the set, also by establishing a reference that guides the multiplicity of readings of the approach to that specific place. The design and or project matrix that I have been explaining is itself the la raison d'être of the spatial composing of the building, condensing the programmatic complexity, structure and infrastructure, meanings producing a space whose design is obtained by the convergence of the various levels of information. Space is the protagonist, when its essence transcends the meaning of the parts that configure it. The formal conception, far from stop on any prefigurative image of research that the project also must convey, admits on the contrary that the formal synthesis is the creative results of the balanced manipulation of all the elements that inform the specificity of the program and the order, the increment. And this text, that for me, I understand that reading it in my lousy English for you is not that completely understandable, but I have a link for them, for this text in Portuguese when you can translate it. But this text, that for me speaks a lot of this, my project, is not my text, and is not for this project. And this is when it comes the relation to inspiration and the presentation to the students. This text that is here in Portuguese, and you can find it there, it was written by João Álvaro Rocha, a very nice Portuguese contemporary architect that passed away 2 years ago, and that have built this project with Jorge Gigante, another teacher in the Porto School. And this is from the National Laboratory of Veterinary Research. And what is curious, and what makes me go back to this project, is that I don't even remember this project that I know before for a long time when I was working in this high-performance rowing center. But the question is that when we go back, when I go back, I noticed that the same principles in so very different projects are very similar, if you want. The parts that repeat themselves, in this case, the laboratories, in our case, the rooms of the athletes, the exceptions in the school, the auditorium, the collective parts, and the administrative parts, in our case, in the upper highs of the building, the social, the collective parts, and in the lower parts, the gymnasium, the sports facilities. And so, in some senses, I have bring, since we have students here, some things that nobody shows, because they are not beautiful. It's from the process that we are talking today, and where you can go to do an otoscopy. So this project, and most of my projects, there are here some students that we have been already today. I told you that my first ideas are lousy most of the time, so I must work a lot of them. So, but it started in some way for this, and it's going to develop. Like, then again, inspiration for me is a lot of times like, what if I change the space between these parts of the building? What if I change that? What if it's something, is a way that we can progress in researching a project? And in some ways, in some process, things that have been abandoned sometimes, it will grow again, and it comes to a place where you can better understand the complexity of the things in place. And so in this kind of playing around, this joking with this model that is very, very simple, very basic, just styrofoam and cardboard, but it's something there that already goes, let's say, in inspiration. Until I like to say that one day the cleaning lady threw the model away on the floor, so we find the project. But she was even nice enough to let us with some sketches that help us to develop the project. So what's happening here, talking about where it comes the inspiration, where you go for inspiration, it comes from hard work. It comes from getting back in the history of architecture. Sometimes this project that I showed you, that I have shown, is from '91. Curiously, I didn't know that in that place. They also have been nominated to Mies van der Rohe Award. But this is nothing to do when in the first look to our project. But in some senses, it helps us to progress the work and to try to understand some parts of the complexity of that. And on top of that, also the look, as Professor Soviano has told you before, something that is very important for our Oporto School of Architecture. The drawing that we have also talked is the hand drawing in some senses, but I wouldn't go there. But also the history. But not the history as historians, because we are not interested in history. Well, you could be, but our interest in history is to help to bring the history nowadays to the computer and to have it as a tool of project. And for sure, one of the trademarks of the Douro Valley, that also means the millenary intervention of the man in the landscape, are these stepped terraces of schist or shale, as you prefer, that have become the trademark of that region. So in this, our look of the territory, try to find, and let's say it again, inspiration, we are also beginning to understand how have men intervene in this landscape when they have similar problems like ours. I have started for say, this is a new program, is an high performance center, but there are other programs, other problems, other challenges to talk with that men have tried to solve it before. And we have started to notice that one thing that is very, very basic and very simple, if you need to build a large cluster of buildings, in this case there are those are cluster of buildings because these are wineries that have grown over time and they have developed their needs. So they have, for sure, have been built along the river, so in the sense of taking advantage of the topography, and they have become very complex in shape and size because of the changing needs, technical needs of the winery. And these relationships between the deep history of the Douro Valley and the history of the architecture, the recent, like a project from '92, these are not linear. These are very, as a lot of us know, it's very complex, and it comes and goes when we try to get, let's say it again, your inspiration. So, in a sense, this kind of path, this kind of research, this kind of investigation, this kind of discussion that involves a lot of work has helped us to bring this approach to the project that puts us away from those first more orthogonal, more rectangular beginnings, because it won't work in these sites, in this project. That won't work for us. So we have to develop a different strategy that comes then again from the perception that when you have a similar program, although this is a school of veterinary, then again it's similar, but it's not the same place. There are some similarities. If you look at it in this image, you say that this is not a flat land, this is a little slope, so they also have this kind of steps. You have the connection, so there are some data that was there, but it's not the same. So, but it's part of the being. And then again, when we try to say, I have said it before today to some students, when you need to solve a problem or face a challenge, if you go back in history, in architectural history, someone have done it before. There is nothing new to do. So in this case, this is, This is a picture of this long corridor that connects this old building that for sure we have not copied but we are looking to learn from it and try to understand how we do it. But at the same time, it brings another references, and it brings, then again, people that have done it before. So part of the inspiration, that's why I have insisted so much this afternoon, is to know the history of your discipline, is to know architecture, is to visit architecture. I have this interview. Where are my interviewers? Maybe over there. And they ask me, what have I already learned from Berlin this week? And I told it that I have learned a lot because as an architect, we can be learning every day. Walking in the street, looking at the sidewalk, looking at a curb, a building, a window, a Zumthor project, we can learn from a lot of different sources. And this is, for me, then again, inspiration is where I go to get inspiration. And some teams, we have also talked about a lot of talking about teams this afternoon. Some teams are the same. We don't use it the same way because it's not the same program. I am not the same architect, but the problems are similar. So in some senses, yeah, we are always redoing others' projects, at least when we look for different kinds of inspiration. We still miss it in this project. It was in the first image, these kind of things that I also wanted, even before I remember that the Peter Zumthor have done it here the same way, because we still don't have the same vegetation here. We have done it because it's very recent. This project has been finished in 2015 to 16 to enter that, so it's still very desert there, but we also try to have in the future something that is like that, for sure, in this part of the project. So there it is. It's still a scare in the landscape, but we went into this kind of endogenous and local vegetation that colonize these spaces and leaves only the parts that we have deliberately want to be similar to these wineries that you have seen it in the landscape. Then again, the same team, the same things that are, then again, like I said before, they are not linear. They're gonna crossing in the process of creating the project and solving the problems that goes there. But there's something there that comes from the memory. It comes from the history of your discipline. It comes from the work that we have to do to bring this together. And for sure, we're going to twist it. We're going to use it in a different way. You're going to use it in a different, but the thing that we are trying to do that, trying to understand how light goes into the space, either be natural or artificial, is not that much different from this case. We can have another examples, but then again, do what Zumthor have done in Val's terms. But then again, changing for another references, I cannot avoid talking about Cisa Vieira for sure. And I have chosen this building. This is the Compostela Museum. For me, it's one of the best works of Cisa for a lot of different reasons. But to try to convey, to try to understand for myself and try to convey to others, this thing that is to intervene in the space that has a kind of particular history, particular, well, the Italians call it the genius loci. So you have to do it something that it seems that ever been there before, but is clearly contemporary. There are not exceptions here. Cisa don't make an exception. This is not a pastiche. This is not a mimesis. This is a new building in the new space, but finds relationships either by volume, either for material, either for geometry. This is a very complex geometrical process again. So in some senses, these are something that we also want in this particular project or in similar projects, is that, yeah, we have looked to the wineries that are in that region like 200, 300 years ago, but this is not a winery. We are not changing to disguise this as a winery, And even though we're going to see more up front, these terraces, these shale terraces, are not the same shale terraces that supported the wine growing in the building. We're going to see in a minute. So then again, trying to understand history and how history can help us in the day-to-day computer, solving problem, drawing by hand. One of the things that we have gone through, sometimes without notice, maybe when you have done this autopsy of the project, you find some things that you don't even get it in when you are doing it. But it's not that much different. When you try to have this idea, maybe this kind of structure, special structure, can help me to achieve a solution for this project. But what I notice is when we try to put it in the landscape like this, and it won't work. But then again, for instance, Romans, when they do it their cities, they also have had the same problem. So Romans have learned to twist, to change, to transform what will be a grid, or orthogonal grid, with the twists of the territory that they have to colonize, that when they have to urbanize, when they have to make a city. So then again, the same kind of topological transformations, the same kind of geometrical transformations that we have gone through here to try to solve our specific problems, our contemporary problems, maybe are not that far away from what Romans and Greeks have done in their cities. So then again, part of the inspiration for me is looking at history, is working on that. Also being from Porto, we cannot run away from Casa da Música, from Rem Koolhaas. Even if I wanted, any non-architect that looks to a project that is a little twisted, oh, you have been inspired by Casa da Música. Yeah, I have been. It's not the same, but I pass here almost every day from my home, from my house to the school. So there are something here that in the same way that Rem Koolhaas look at, it's not the same way, but in the same manner that Rem Koolhaas look at our history, in this case the traditional tiles, and try to integrate it in the new being, this is not that similar. This is not from here, it's a joke. But it is the same. When Koolhaas do this fake organ tube to put it inside the Casa da Música, he is also looking at things that he finds important for the project. I need my charger, I'm sorry. I don't remember that. Can you help me? Do you have a socket there? This is not there. I hope I not forget the other one. That will be nice. There it is. There it is. There it is. There it is. Luckily. Yeah, there. The other end. The other end. Dankeschön. All right, problem solved, we hope. And again, going back to this afternoon, sorry for the rest of us, but it was a very intense afternoon, nice and gratifying intense afternoon. When we saw that project, that is this water line that tries to be a balustrade, I remember this because, for instance, it's here, and then again, it's the same problem. This is not for try to avoid that any people fall there, but it's the same problem that when we naively start to change these kind of shapes, and then it's, oh, there's raining on this project. I need to solve, how can I solve it? I don't even know if we solve it the same way, because I don't know the details of that. But what is true well, we solve it different ways because we have different problems. But what is true is that line is not that different for that one. It's the same problem. So if you look to other architectures, our problems are done. This is a little detail, not even from the last drawings. This is very earlier. But the problem is there, is how to solve. I don't, for sure, we wanted that this shape goes on. So we try to avoid. It is the same problem that Ram Koolhaas or someone by him have faced it there. We have different ones, as I said, because we also have this kind of different constructive system for one side, and for another, working with the climate, because the climate in Porto is not the same. It's not the same climate as in Pocinho, Vila Nova de Foscoa, because if it's good for people that only rains like 20 days a year, you also have 40 degrees, dry 40 degrees, so it's not that good for a building that wants to be sustainable and wants to be energetically efficient. So one of the things that we have worked here is we also have cuts in the upper parts of the building, of the shapes, because this is like a chimney. This is to exhaust this hot air. This is not only a double-side roof, but also a double vented wall. So that is a change of that, but it's specifically of this project, and it can be learned from another ones. This is a little bit more of the same, the problems that goes in different shapes like that, and we have to do it. But one of the reasons that I have this image here today, it's the same reason that I have been positively surprised, I already tell it that, for your first year students that also have this kind of relations. And this is a part for inspiration that brings us here. This is for me, for us, I believe, for a lot of us, architecture, because architecture is always jumping back and forward from the little detail to the whole of the project and how this relates together. So it was very refreshing and very surprising at the same time, because we don't do it in Porto in the first years I saw it. That's in a lot of the projects that I have saw this afternoon, students in the first year already have this kind of understanding of architecture that is very, very important. And then again, another building that I pass every day is for sure it inspires. For sure we will look at that. For sure I have a lot of critics about this building. It's in the Avenida da Boa Vista, so then again it's between my house and my school and my office. But then again we have learned, like I said to the students and to interview, we learn for everything in the city if you want it. So we're gonna get inspiration there. But we can jump to completely different places. And for instance, I have told you, I will not bother that much with the energy efficiency of this building. That was very important for us. But the constructive system here is very different from that one. And it's very different for different reasons. But part of them is here, human body are producing heat. Trying to walk, go to a gym, especially if you are Olympic athletes, and you produce a lot of heat when you are doing it. So the problem of this part, of the white parts of the building, more in the sports zone for sure, is to dissipate heat. When you are in your room, and then again, Olympic athletes, you must remember that they have your age. They are also at the same time university students. The age of a peak of an Olympic athlete is like 20s, 19, 20, 20 few. So the athletes, the life of a high performance athlete is to work and study and work and work and study. It's like 8 hours training, 5-6 hours studying. So when they are in the rooms, and the rooms are drawing very specifically, Sometimes Portuguese to English is hard. You are quiet, like I am here now. I am not at the gym. So the problem there is not to dissipate heat, is to not losing it. So the best way of, one of the reasons that we have chosen these stepped terraces are not only because they are from Douro Valley and we want to disguise the building in the landscape. But also, if you look at the igloo from the Eskimos, you know that this is one of the most efficient energy management shapes. The sphere is the most efficient energy because for the same volume, let's say, you have the less skin exposed. So it's something that we had tried to learn and to work there, is to reduce the part of the skins that are exposed to the exterior in order to reduce the changes of the energy and the changes in heat. So the same way we have learned it from everything, from the Romans, from Culas, from the buildings at my hometown, we can also learn from ancestry and natural, sorry, I want to do this again. There it is. Ways of building and how they react to very contemporary problems, like solving the energy efficiency of a building. Another part of the inspiration that in this case is more up to the beginning of the project is that they have asked us to solve the problem of handicapped athletes. Because even though, because rowing has a very high tax ratio of athletes that can't walk because they just need to use their arms, so you have a lot of handicapped wheelchair athletes. And when they ask us to consider this as a main problem, as an inspiration if you want it, I say, well, don't do it here, let's do it in Alentejo. Alentejo is a part of Portugal that's similar to Berlin. It's very, very flat. So if you wanted to solve the problems of handicapped athletes, we cannot do it here because for a people in the wheelchair, more than 2 centimeters is a barrier. It's a barrier. So this is some of the previous image of the place. You can still see in another image. Sorry. On the neighborhood, there are still some buildings that have been left for like this. So this again is like we have also said this afternoon. I'm coming back to this afternoon. This is, as Lisa have put it to some students, this is a problem or a challenge. I left it to the students that we have asked it. So then again, and to quickly and to go away, inspiration, as that journalist asked me, I don't know exactly where it comes from, but it comes from, like I said then again to the 2 interviewers, it comes from life. It comes from looking around you. It comes from see what's maybe here can help you. It comes from a building that has been built like 20 years ago. It comes from a landscape that had been built it like 300, 400 years ago. It comes from a landscape that is there forever, not safe. So the problem with that, and the problem with the connection with this kind of, like I said, the image library that I as an architect can build in my hair, is that to connect everything, and maybe at the end, like this journal, this is one of the first articles that have been published about this project that call it, and I like it in the good way, la schizophrénie dans la vallée, the valley, how do you say it in English? Schizophrenic, valley schizophrenic, because And keep going to the students. This is for the students, forgive me, the other ones. When I said to you this afternoon, when you have a lot of stuff in your project, you need to edit. We have edit and cut it, a lot of stuff that goes out there. But in some senses, this schizophrenic stays in the project because you have a lot of tensions when you try to solve the problems like this. But I like it, the schizophrenia, and I like this tension and the relation between the contemporary and the old, and the erudite and the usual. So it works for me like that. I will leave, here. Yeah, we still have here some buildings that were similar to those that were there, and they supported the previous rowing teams that have been there. In a little bit more of detail, after this more conceptual approach, the building is organized mainly in three large sectors. The rooms from the athletes, we're going to see in the detail for sure. And we also try to understand how this twisted shape is made. Then again, it's not to imitate the shales, but it's to solve some programmatic problems that we have inside the building. At the higher parts of the land, and already we have seen in the video, we have choose to put the social parts, like we're going to see the program in a minute, in the way of try to capture the relationship with the landscape that is also being worked in the way that we assume that people will leave this building. Then again, I already told you that those are Olympic athletes, so they will be at the river mainly all day. When they are not at the river, they will be at the gym another few hours. So we have to try to put it in a relaxing way, the living room, the dining room, in the relationship with the other side of the valley. So we try to go to the higher length of the project. And in the bottom, in the most low parts, we choose the gym because the gym for them is not like the gym for some of us, not me. It's not a place where you go to relax. It's a place where you go to work hard. And believe me, they work hard. So the least thing that they want is to distraction with the landscape and the things. So we have turned the building inside, and the only thing you're going to see in some image, the only thing that not only thing, but almost everything that you saw when you are at the gym is the rocky landscape that was the shale and the schist that was there, some kind of telluric part of it. So this is also difficult. Remember, then again, students, the questions of representation. This is very difficult to representation because I'm trying to hit. And because when you try, when you try to cut a plan, if you see that, but you don't see that. So this is a geometrical correct representation. This is a roof plan, but this is a non-existent place. It's like taking off all the roofs. But here it can help us to see a little bit more how this organizes inside. The repetition of the cells of the rooms that I have told you in the beginning, although the text is not mine, and the twists and changes that also relates to the landscape and to the shale, the stepped schist is there, are there more for programmatical and spatial reasons. We'll see in the moment. These are out of place, but then again, what I already told you, this is supposed to be some slides before, but we have to deal with a lot of people that are handicapped and wheelchair, which is not a lot easier to do in the terrain like this. So then again, in a little more up close, we have the social area, we have the rooms there, And we have something here that is, we have projects, we have designed this whole building to be bigger than it is today. So there is a program expansion area that is in gray there, but the only part that is built is this one. They forget it. They don't have the money to do all the buildings, so they cut it in the middle of the design. And it's very easy to cut a project for an architect. This is like ham, so you can have it slices. That's why I'm not saying it's just a joke. No, this is not. They think it's a. But then again, we have worked hard to try to cut the budget of the process. It's a little bit incomplete. Knowing that I misses that part of the project, but well, that is life. And that, again, the part of the training that we have here with mainly 3 programmatical areas. The rooms from the doctors, from psychiatrists, from physiatrists, and so on. The rooms for the coaches, the national teams, from the invited teams, and the toilets that supports the area of the pool and sauna and Turkish bath, that in this case, and being those rowing athletes, this is more for relax than from training. The hard part of their day works on that space over there. There has been a little jump here. We will go back in the middle. There is. I have see a lot of stuff. I've been reading about these doors, these kind of things that's supposed to be connected then again to the cultural landscape, to the tradition of the place. Well, those are lift stops. Lift stops and another thing that is. They are also focal points from the end of those corridors. When you walk that corridor, you have some relationship to the landscape, but the truth is that this is lift stops, because then again, the problem with handicapped, with wheelchairs, in a huge hill like that, so we have proposed, and we have budget for that, a funicular that connects all of these like a diagonal lift, but in the cuts that we have had, it goes away. So as we're going to see inside, it comes like a regular wheelchair machines, but it goes anyway. So let's look at a little bit closer the room parts and what I said before. Basically, this part of the rooms for the athletes is a cell that repeats itself. That, as I have told you in the beginning, determines the relationship with the terrain, returns the repetition, and relation with the exception. The twisties come from different parts of wheels of the project. For once, we have tried to avoid because these are a lot of meters, there's a lot of extension between there. We have tried to avoid the same regular corridor that could have gone directly one place to another. So part of this twist is to have a specific and individual identification of one of these corridors. And if you walk that corridor that connects everything that, even by the difference in light and the connection point there, you know where you are in the building, which is very important because this is a very big extension building. Some parts of there are also related to the demands of an equipment like that. Nowadays, HVAC, ventilation, climatization takes a lot of space in the project. You will learn that as students, you will learn that as architects. And if you don't look at very early in the project, it can kill you dead. So part of these are technical places where you have how do you say it? I don't remember in English. The HVAC machines that climatize and renovate the air inside. Some parts of the heat are also individual laundries for the athletes to process their cleans. And there are mainly spaces that they are needed for the function of the building, for the people that are going to live there. And it was very important for us also to connect. This is a set of a little living room and a little kitchen, a little kitchenette that goes to support this kind of the neighborhood rooms over there. It's like an hostel in some places, but at the same time allow us to have shortcuts between these places and connect the horizontal corridors over there. So in order to people that goes in this building, and mainly, let's say, you have the German rowing team there, you have the Sweden rowing team there, you have the Russian rowing team there. And this is also try to promote their interaction when they are relaxing around the rooms. The room, again, is almost a psychological condition of the cell of the monastery, because this is also comes from the program and the order. This idea that an Olympic athlete is something like, is almost like a monk in the monastery, is very shallow, is very clean. So we have tried to organize all the space with this furniture there, is a little bit more blanket, and with that furniture organize the bed, the space from bed and study there. There is a big desk, because then again there are university students, and a toilet. One of the things that is important in this project, and it relates to the handicapped facilities, is that we have made the continuous effort of each one of these rooms in the lower part of the corridor can be used by a wheelchair user. So what we have tried to avoid here, that is usual in the hotels and facilities like that, is then you want to rent a room and you have specifically rooms for handicapped people. This can work if you go book a room in a hotel. The problem here is that when the team travels together, it don't seem nice to us that say, you that can walk, stay here, the other ones stay in that specific rooms. So although we have very short areas to work, we have studied all these spaces in order that anybody can stay here, whatever is this physical condition, which means that you can be with your friends even if you have a wheelchair. The only thing that is changed is that those supports for changing from the wheelchair to the equipment are they are removable. So when you book a room, you already know that this room will be for a wheelchair athlete, so the only thing that you need is to put that thing, and the room is the same. For sure, in the upper part of the room, there is a stair there. We're going to see a little bit more. It is not accessible to wheelchairs. But in this case, we have 50% of the rooms are accessible and livable via wheelchair users. And this kind of space that is very narrow, we have like, I hope I am not mistaking you, but it's like 16 square meters in there and 70 there. Have been very concerned for us to try to understand how it works, not be too much oppressive and too much claustrophobic in some senses. So from the beginning of the project, we have had this effort to try to understand how the light will work here, how someone that will be seated at this desk, this is not an hotel, because in a hotel you're going to go there to sleep, but here in this room you will have someone that will be seated here for 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours a day. So it was important for us that they can be there with the specific relationship with the framing. We have been talking about the framing also today, with the framing of the other side of the valley, and the relationship, the relation with the space. So with this kind of windows and skylights, although the room is very small, you can have long views for there. You can see the sky in all beds, and you can see the old side of the building, the other side of the valley on the other side. Sorry. So this is something between the renders, working renders. These are not for selling any real estate. These are working renders and the constructed results. And again, backing again to this afternoon, trying to understand how we're going to build something that is not yet built. So this is mainly the part of the rooms of the project, and this is the other room in the upper part. So this is at the same level, the lower part, and here you're going to see in a moment already, because we have these stepped terraces. You're going to enter there. You have the stair that brings you to the part of the building there. So the room is similar. It's the same principle of organization. One furniture that's organized the whole space, but there we can put it the restroom there, because with that we also have natural light to the restroom from the skylight that's continuous. That one you're going to see in a minute. So this is a small section of that. So you have the stairs. You have that skylight that you have seen in the previous project that is above the desk, the study. And we can also have that one, natural light for that restroom there, bathroom. So this is a render from the project of this room, a picture of the constructed building. And then again, renders from the beginning where it can be seen there. The corridor level, the relationship to the lower rooms, the stairs to the upper room. And here, then again, I have choose this image on purpose for students. If you noticed with attention, the skylights are still changing. We are still researching what we want to do with this project. So we are trying different things. The what if that I have told you before. What if the skylight is not continuous, or if there is some squares that are put in some specific places of the rooms? What if? And then again, like I said it this afternoon, we are looking at this and say, too much. We don't want this. But for me, to achieve this conclusion, I need this process. I need to draw it. I need to put it again. I need to work it. And then again say, no, this is not what I want. But that's why when 1 hour ago, Lisa stopped it and go back to that drawing that the students with the different options, with the how can I elevate the roof from the building. Then again, I was connected to this. This is not hand drawing for sure, but then again, it's the same principle. Is to try to understand what if I change the skylight? What if I change use the same skylight but move it to one side to the other? What is the relationship with the space, the geometrical space, the light space, everything that goes there? So in a sense, this is the same, is similar to the drawing that we have seen today. At the end, and this process of inspiration, like they have asked me, what we have decided is that we don't want a mimesis. We don't want a copy of the stepped schistus that were there. So this kind of completely unreadable artificialization of the stepped schistus have won in our internal competition, if you want it. So if you look at from behind, from the lower parts, it seems like the traditional stepped schistus from the Douro, but at night with the lights on, or even today when you look at from above, you clearly see that this is an artificial stepped schist. So this is not the same from agriculture. It's our way of reinterpreting today what that could be. So then at the end, the skylight, the long skylights that freeze these long movies with shadow on the day and light to the night, it seems better for us. And then again, the relationship with the inner spaces also have been grown and differently from what we have studied before. That is a more detailed and more near the final of the project, of the things there, what I have told you, the skylight that is over the desk, the skylight that lights the corridor there, the skylight that is the same one like that, and finally the skylight that lights the bathroom and the upper room floor. So with this and that window, we have cut and put these to, someone talked today, float. We try to put these roofs to float. And as we know that they don't float, we have tried to receive these windows and skylights to have a strong shadow to work like that. So at the end, what we have here is like that example I say, like that I show you, that Cisa in Compostela is something that is for us related to this place, but is clearly contemporary. This is not a pastiche. This is not a mimesis. It's something that we have looked at. We have looked at to history and to the place, but we have it twisted that make it to solve our contemporary problems. So this is a little bit of the same, the areas that connect the living room, the kitchen, the various rooms, the end, the relation of that. These are different spaces. These are a section to that space that I have told you before, the relationship between the kitchenettes and the living rooms, so the little small social areas there that are here, try to connect, then again, the corridor on the upper level to the corridor on the lower level, and it's already been inhabited, so we are already started to have some interaction between people in these kinds of spaces, which have been one of the goals of the project, so I'm very happy that this is happening again. And then again, relating to teaching architecture and to the things that we don't show when the project is there, the models that we have done just to study this relationship, and it is not to presentation anything. The relationship of the whole, the body. And then again, and now again, then again, to the sports area. The sports area, as I've told you, is this part that is very compartmented with the teams reuniting rooms, the medical rooms, the restrooms, and the laboratories appointed to the pool and the relaxed area, and this very long gym that then again is the most, then again is the next question, is the most new thing in this program, because I told you in the beginning is what the hell is an high performance center? Well, it's an hotel with a gym in asteroids. The program is not that different. Then we have looked at hotels. This is a different hotel because people don't spend 2 or 3 days here, spends 2 or 3 months. So there are some differences. And we have a bigger gym. So the program is not that new. We can relate to other projects and try to understand. But what we try to do it here, then again, this gym and some particularities, because a gym in a hotel or like a commercial gym don't have this kind of secrecy that they have here. Because if the German rowing team is training legs there, don't want to see and don't want to know what the Russian team is doing harms there. So this kind of twisted shape also comes to that. It comes to how can we work in the same space, because there are efficiency gains to have just one space there, because this shape also relates to our work with the coaches here. And for those of you, that's not me, that does gym, knows, you have machines for leg, you have machines for arm, you have machines for core, you have machines for everything. And here, mainly, you have the rowing machines, I would say that. I won't say in English, it's the rowing machines that is great, the biggest part of their training. So this shape is not a whim or just a whim of the architect. Oh, I want a twisted thing like that. No, it helps us in the same space to create different spaces that you can have here like 30, 40, 60 people at the same time, and they can be concentrated in the work they are doing, which is not that a big need in a natural gym. And the other thing, the shape that goes there, and this big window that looks south is the only window that looks south, because I already don't tell you, but this hill is facing north. That's why I allow us to put these very big windows in the living room and the dining room. But this is one of the few windows that's facing south. And I already told you that they have like 40 degrees in the summer. So this shape in section, you can see the projections there, is also drawn in the way that in the winter, when the sun is lower, you have direct sun in that windows, but in the summer, when the sun is higher, the shape of the building shades the windows, so you don't have heat gaining there. You can see a little bit there, so is the building goes like a shading of himself and relates to the gym, to the other part of the sports zone there. So then again, here, what I have told you, what we have tried here is in the same space, with quotation marks, have different spaces that comes from the variation in height and from the variation in plan there. And very quickly, try to end this presentation. The parts that there's the social areas. There you have the entrance to the building that goes in the lower level of the plaza. This is the reception area, and you can go up one level and be in the auditorium there. The administrative parts, like the president's room, the secretary, the meeting room, since we don't have that much meetings there, we have put it in the relationship with the stage of the auditory, because it can work as backstage when it needed. A little library and research room there, the living room in this part, the big dining room, because then again is a pressure point in the program, because you can, in the gym, for instance, you can have different schedule for different teams, but when it goes to meals, you can have a little flexibility, but not that much. So this is one of the biggest space, because you need to feed all these athletes in at least tops 3 changes of tables. A little bar and esplanade in the middle, and then against the hill, just the services, the kitchen, the laundry, the general laundry, bathrooms to support the relationship with the auditorium, things like that. This kind of, then again, we have already told today a lot of balances and structure and how things to put it there. This kind of balance was not a desire to say, oh, I can do a balance. Look at me, I can do a balance. This is important, I believe, for students. this is there because we went to try to put some tension in that place because it's a special moment in the approach of the entrances. So we have put the tension in the plan with this twist of the building and also with that. It's like a first gate for the entrances in the building. So this part of that is like that for that. And the other one, I don't have the section here, but it takes a long time to study, is for in these two places that are very symbolic of this project, you can see the all of the building. I don't know. It's just a little bit. Yeah, that from there, you can have a perception of the all of the building and not be obstructed by the rooms. So this serves a specific purpose in the project there and is not just to do like a structural whim of the moment. In relation to what I have just finished to say, this is one of the few spots where the shale goes inside the building. It tries to connect and to convey people to say this is the entrance, come here, and this is the continuation of this big building. This big wall comes inside the building and marks and represents the entrance of there. And it assumes a particular importance in the structure of this, the wall of reception with the reception area here, the stair to go to the auditorium there, and from there to the other parts of the program that I have already told you. This is a view from the arrival of the auditorium. You have the door is closed, but I think there are some pictures there. The auditorium is there, reception area, and then the beginning of the long corridor that connects everything there. This is the presidency room. They went to display the trophies, so we have drawing specifically this kind of places to put the trophies that we hope that Portuguese rowing team will win one of these days. And also serves as the meeting from the presidency and the backstage from the auditorium there. So, I believe is to finish. We are approaching the end finally. This relationship with the landscape that I have told you before that we try to have in these two rooms there in order to, in the hand of the hard day work, you can relax there drinking, I believe, just some water. I don't believe Olympic athletes drink beer or scotch, but whatever. And then again, this variation in highs that says this is a living room, the roof is more lower. And the other one is a dining room. We have more people at the same time, more human heat. So this is a little bit higher and represents at the same time the end of this long corridor and the relationship backs again to the landscape. So the inspiration, where it comes from, I really don't know. What I have told to that journalist is, if I know where inspiration is, I will go there more often because it saves me a lot of work. Because for me, inspiration is work, 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 and hoping that some good come from that. And it's also from the people that we'll try to serve, in this case, the future rowers that we are trying to convey in this project. And just for finishing, I will put it a little bit longer video. It's similar to the previous one, but now to try to convey you a sense of the whole of this building. And when this video stops, we are done. You can. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you.
You want to answer questions there? Yeah?
If there is someone, yeah, for sure. No.
Would you like to ask questions or yes?
I have talked already.
I wonder how you came from this very structured orthogonal organization to this very twisted, because you didn't show so many steps in between, I think. And I wonder what this process
Yeah,
is.
it have been some steps in between. I am not showing everything here. Otherwise, we will spend a week inside just to showing the process. Yeah, but then again, as a student, and then again, sharing some inside information, I was not one of those lucky guys that gets the first impression and goes to that. I was walking around and around some solutions because it's supposed to be a little quote. It's supposed to be a quote that had been sent by Cesar Vieira that says, well, the first idea is the better of all. This is a myth, even for him. If you saw an exhibition of Cesar Vieira, like for instance, very interesting exhibition about his Serralves Museum, where he puts every steps of the process until the final process, and well, the beginnings are nothing to do about it. Well, Cesar is much more structured than I am, so that is no problem. But when I started to work and when I started to have the possibility, sometimes we do some building, some teams inside the team, and they are developing 2 or 3 different ways. Until in some senses, some of those say, one of the difficult things in architecture for me is I never know the way. You know, like in a mathematician, 2 + 2 is 4. Oh, this is the way. As an architect, I don't know how we know the way. I really don't know. So then again, my inspiration is to work and try and say that like I have said before, what if? What if I change it? What if I tweak it? What if I put it higher? What if I put it lower? What if I make it bigger? What if I... And the problem with these what ifs is that we take a lot of time, we take a lot of resources. Company meaning you take a lot of money from your pocket to do this. So I cannot tell you that way that how I achieve this twisted. That's why I prefer that joke about the cleaning lady, throw the model away. It works for me. Yeah, it comes in. I have chosen this theme for this presentation because I think the question is always where it comes, where it starts. Do you wake up one day and say, oh, this is... Sorry, I cannot tell you. It's nothing, for me at least, it's not something that this is the way. What most of the times give me some certainties is when things come together, when things like, let's do it in the stepped shale because it solves some problems. And then I go, the stepped shale, the stepped terraces are the trademark of the Douro. I am working the Douro, you see. And then again, we are working and we are approaching one of the formal possibilities of the project. And we say, I already seen that. The winery is in the Douro. It's not the other way around. It's not like I have, if you gonna there sometimes you can do by different ways to go there, but you can go by train. It's a nice journey from Porto to Pocinho, or you can go now by boat, then again from Porto to Pocinho. And then it was not like I was in the boat, I'm gonna do my high performance like this winery in the middle of... It came, like, I don't know why, how, but what I realized and what I want to show you, this first orthogonal model, is that sometimes you started in so far away from that. But what I notice is talking to the project, if you want, is the project say, no, I don't like this, it's not the way. So we change it and we try to find an answer, I believe. And hope, praying, I am not a believer, but praying or whatever, to some good comes from that.
So thank you very much.
Oh, I am the center. Thank you.
Very inspiring.
Oh. Thank you. Thank you again. Victoria.